When my truck disappeared from my own driveway at 6:18 on a Tuesday morning, I didn't call dispatch right away. I just stood there in uniform, coffee still warm in my hand, staring at the fresh toe marks cutting across the concrete my father had poured himself in 1998. Two broken gravel lines trailed past the mailbox, and right beside my garage was a bright orange notice zip-tied to my fence. Unauthorized vehicle removed by order of the HOA. That was the exact moment I realized the people running Willow Creek Estates had no idea who had just moved into House 14. My name is Daniel Cross. 3 weeks earlier, I had been sworn in as the new county sheriff, and the woman who ordered my truck towed from my own driveway was about to learn the difference between neighborhood bullying and criminal trespass. I bought the house after my mother passed. It sat on a corner lot with a long side driveway, wide enough for my truck, a work trailer, and the old base boat I kept covered behind a detached garage. It wasn't flashy, but it was mine, paid in full, deed clean, tax current, no HOA liens, no easements, no shared access. The first problem started 2 days after I moved in. A woman in white capris and oversized sunglasses marched up my driveway, holding a clipboard like it was a weapon. She introduced herself as Brenda Halpern, president of the HOA. She didn't welcome me to the neighborhood. She pointed at my truck and said it was too commercial to be visible from the street. I told her it was a personal vehicle, properly registered, parked fully on private property, and that the bylaws she was waving around didn't override county law or my deed. She smiled the way people do when they think rules only apply downward. Then she said, "That attitude won't last long here." 3 days later, I found a warning tucked under my wiper blade. One day after that, another. Both claimed my truck violated community appearance standards. Neither cited an actual county code. Both were signed by Brenda. I ignored them because legally they meant nothing. What I didn't know then was that Brenda had already told the board I was an uncooperative renter who would learn respect once they enforced towing. That's what the emails later showed. But on that Tuesday morning, all I had was an empty driveway and a very bad mood. Before making a single call, I checked my security cameras. At 5:43 a.m., a tow truck rolled slowly into frame with no sheriff standby, no court order, and no municipal tag. Brenda herself stepped out wearing a red windbreaker and pointed at my truck like she was selecting evidence at an auction. The driver hooked it up in under 3 minutes. At 5:49, she actually posed for a picture beside my driveway while the truck was being pulled out. That photo ended her. I drove my second vehicle straight to the impound lot. The owner looked confused the second he saw my badge. "You the owner of the Silverado?" he asked. I told him I was. He swallowed hard and handed me the paperwork. The authorization line had Brenda's signature on it. The reason listed was even dumber than I expected: abandoned vehicle in HOA enforcement zone. It was parked in my driveway, in front of my garage, less than 20 feet from my front door. I asked him one question. "Did she tell you this property belonged to the HOA? He nodded once, then looked like he wished he hadn't. I got my truck released, collected copies of every form, and called one of my deputies to meet me at the house with a body cam rolling. By 8:10, Brenda was back, probably expecting another argument she could win with volume. Instead, she found me standing beside my truck, a deputy at my shoulder, and a printed still from my security footage in my hand. She froze when she saw the uniform. Not because she recognized me right away, but because she finally understood she had towed a law enforcement vehicle from the private residence of the man now running the county. She tried to pivot fast. "This is a misunderstanding." "No," I said, "a misunderstanding is knocking on the wrong door. You ordered a private tow from private property using false authorization." Her face changed the second I showed her the still image of her pointing at my truck at 5:43 that morning. Then I showed her the deed copy, the plat map, the tax record, and the impound form she had signed. My deputy read her possible exposure slowly: criminal trespass, false statement for property removal, unlawful deprivation of property, and civil damages. For the first time since I met her, Brenda stopped talking. The board tried to save her that same afternoon. They claimed it was community enforcement tradition. That excuse died the second we pulled the email chain. Brenda had written, He keeps acting like he owns the place. Tow it once, and he'll fall in line. That was the problem. I did own the place. By Friday, the towing company gave a formal statement confirming Brenda had misrepresented ownership. By Monday, the HOA attorney was begging for settlement talks. By Wednesday, Brenda resigned for personal reasons, which was a polite way of saying the board finally realized she had exposed all of them. I didn't drag the whole neighborhood through a media circus. I didn't need to. The settlement covered my towing costs, legal fees, camera upgrades, and a written HOA acknowledgement that my vehicle's driveway and garage access were beyond their enforcement authority unless an actual county law was broken. I framed that letter and hung it in the garage right above the workbench. So now, every time I back my truck into my own driveway at the end of a long shift, I see two things before I kill the engine: my family name on the deed, and the paper proving Brenda Halpern learned, one expensive morning, that private property doesn't become HOA property just because a bully says it does.